Here we are. All right. Welcome back to Wednesday Live Talks, organized by Race. Wednesday Live Talk is a weekly conversation with experts and professionals in the educational sector. Her own podcast called Wonder and Wellbeing. She is an artist and a mom. And what a guest we have for you tonight, guys. Born and raised in India, she is living in San Francisco, US for the past 15 years. She has been an early who couldn't to help parents help
Carla, are you able to hear Anastasia?
Yeah, I think Anastasia is having some real bad technical issues. So
Right.
I think we'll just carry on and hopefully she'll recover. So I think she was up to the introduction, wasn't she, Janani? She was telling us about your background. So why don't you tell us about your background? Tell us about your history and education.
Sure, I'll make it as brief as possible. I started out my career as a software engineer, and then I shifted to teaching preschool children. I started out as a STEM educator, and then having seen a lot of mental challenges that kids are going through these days, I wanted to do something in that field. So now I am a transformational parenting coach and a STEM educator, and my goal is to help parents manage their emotions and also be a role model for their children so they can help them with their mental and emotional health.
Yeah, Anastasia, can you hear us now?
I can. How about you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Janani's just introduced herself because
She
you were.
did. She did it excellent. And oh my God, how I was compassionate to introduce her too. Anyway, we have so much to cover, so we dive in our conversation today. For those people who do not know, let's establish what emotional and mental competence really means. Kindly share with us, Janani. What is it really?
Sure. Emotional competence is all about being able to express your emotions appropriately at moderate levels and at the right time and to the right person. So, being resilient, talking through your frustration to the right person rather than venting it out on someone else, um, holding ourselves accountable and responsible for our actions. Those are some examples of emotional competency. And mental competence, on the other hand, is all about your ability to make rational decisions and just essentially being able to stay in control of one's own self when you are in a situation. So that's basically, a brief definition of those two. And why are we talking about that? Why is it important right now, more so than ever? Because we face challenges of all kinds, and a lot of things we are not really equipped to handle, and there's so much uncertainty around us these days. So really, how are we preparing ourselves to maneuver through those challenges? And more important, how are we preparing the future generation to handle those challenges, with confidence and trust, and they know how to seek help appropriately. And that's where mental balance comes into picture. If you look at, our own mental state every day, it keeps shifting throughout the day. Some days we feel on the lower end of the equilibrium, where we don't want to talk to anyone, we keep it to ourselves, we kind of shut ourselves from the outside world. And on the other end, on the higher end of the equilibrium, we get angry and frustrated, and we get pretty aggressive. So really, how how quickly we're able to get to the center of the balance and stay there for a long time is essentially what we're talking about, strengthening that emotional and mental competence.
Thank you. I see. It sounds a lot that it has to do a lot with the job for the parents, and many parents, they've been looking forward to this life because they have been promised that we are about to share with him at least 3 practical tools that they can take away from today's life and implement them right away tomorrow, so they can know what they can do really. So would you please share with us what parents today who are listening to us now and who will be viewing later, what they can do to nurture mental health for their children and help them?
Absolutely. So there are of course various tools, but there are three essential ones that are, in my own personal experience, have been helping me, and I would say I'm still, practicing them. So it takes time and it's a process. So number one for me is, self-care and self-awareness. I keep talking about this all the time. Self-awareness is more about, how are you feeling? How are you connected with your own emotions? And how are you reacting in a situation? So having that awareness is really key to actually, pause in the moment and step back and see, am I reacting rather than responding? Will I be able to handle this situation in a much better way, right? So because we are in the flow when we are in situations, and we end up saying things that we regret later. So really pausing and getting ourselves out of the situation can help us slow down and respond better. Number two on the list for me is,
Yeah.
this is something that I really enjoy doing. Share your story with your children. Talk to them about what kind of emotions you went through today and how did you come out of it. A lot of times children look at parents as flawless and perfect, right? I mean, it's good in a positive way because they see how successful we are. Yet, some kids who are really low in self-confidence, they rather take that too seriously and more consciously, that they try to avoid making mistakes. And because of that, they don't try anything. So, in my opinion, it's okay to share with your children that, kids can feel left out. I mean, I'm sorry, adults can feel left out.
Yeah.
Adults can feel jealous. Adults can also feel dumb for doing silly things and stupid things. So, because a lot of times kids come up and say, you don't understand how I feel. And, my response is, I probably don't understand the situation you're in, but I can definitely relate to your feelings. And definitely when you share these stories, there's a lot of humor in it. And that can really boost their confidence and make them feel that they're not alone with their feelings. And kids who are really keeping things to themselves, it can help them open up and talk more. And this is also a great way to bond with your children at a deeper level. The third
Excellent.
one is, really identifying the innate abilities in your children and highlighting it for them. I would like to quote an example and explain more. Say, for example, if a child is really good at doing puzzles or even Legos, then as much as we appreciate them for being so good at it, we also want to look at some of the underlying abilities that they already possess, focus, ability to read instructions and comprehend, ability to collaborate with other kids. And if they are building their own Legos, then there's imagination, creativity, organizing, planning, and implementation, and so on. So if the same child gives up on chess or something else, and they say, I can't do this, then we kind of go back to what they're really good at, and highlight these qualities that they already have, and then they can always build new skills over it. So that these, with my experience, I've seen that it has really helped in boosting their confidence. So to sum it up,
So,
yeah, these are the three
let's,
things.
I see. Janani, allow me to sum it up. So we have, for the parents, 3 things to go, and we are about to ask Carla if she had tried any of them too. So for all the parents out there, and we're going to drop for you guys the same question. Today, Janani has shared 3 of them. You pause and do a self-check on yourself as a parent. You share your story and tell to your child, how do you really feel? And then you identify ability of your child by highlighting that through the process. So by doing that, you encourage them and their self-esteem. So let us know in the comments below, which one of you have you been practicing before, or which one do you feel you're going to use tomorrow or today already? And Carla,
And I would
how
also
about
like
you?
to add,
Oh, yeah,
Anastasia, I just want to
sure.
mention that,
Please.
all this is a process, and the more we practice is and role model for our children, we will create an impact. I really want to thank my parents for being such great role models, because they practiced what they wanted to preach. So it's essentially the more we do, and kids will get a hang of it, if not sooner, definitely someday.
Can we use it as a point for and offer our parents the 4th option to be a role model for their children, so they can keep it in mind? Now, let's ask Carla, since she is live with us. Carla, have you tried any of this? And if not, which one do you like the most? Which one is more suitable for you and for your child?
Yeah, I have. I have tried all of those things. And I think that
Oh,
what I liked the most there, and the thing that I've
yeah.
tried and found most beneficial, is just sharing your own story. And especially things where you do silly things. I was smiling because I was thinking of all the times when I've made a mistake, and my son and I, we just laughed together so hard, because then he realizes that a grown-up is just as silly as a child, and that sometimes we make such silly mistakes. And actually, sometimes I will say things wrong, and he will point it out to me now, and then we just laugh so much. Like one day I said 2 twins, and he said, 2 twins, Mummy. Do you mean twins? And he was just laughing, and he always brings it up whenever I make a silly mistake. He'll say, you can't have anything different than 2 twins, Mummy. And he just thinks it's so funny. So I love that. I love that engagement with my son, and those moments where he points out my silly mistakes, or if I admit to him. And another one on a more serious note is that I'm very self-conscious person. I get shy quite often, and my son he's learned to be very compassionate about that, because he will point it out. He'll say, are you feeling shy, Mummy? Because usually I'll blush, and he's become really sensitive at noticing that. And then that's helped him, actually, because now he understands that shy is not an ending in the process, it's a beginning. So it's not I feel shy, so that's the end. It's I feel shy, so what do I do next? So I might say things like, I'm feeling a bit shy, I think I'll go and just take a break and calm down. So he understands that there's a process after feelings, and just learning to talk those through with him has really helped a lot. And he's 10, so he's at that age where shy, self-conscious, feeling funny in social situations is a real reality. And he's about to start a new school in September as well. So that's really going to put him through those paces, and me, it's going to get me to see how I've been doing with that kind of talk, which is quite interesting. We've got some comments. Shall I read those as well?
Please do. Yes.
Lovely questions and things coming in. So we've got, if we just go down to, we've got a comment from the race community. It feels like the current situation is so trying for many adults, and also kids missing out on school. How do you think conversations can start in families about mental health?
That's a great question. Again, it starts from us. So the more we start practicing, anything as simple as exercise, meditation, and really bringing in the vocabulary about mental health is the key, because we often don't talk about it, right? We talk about physical exercise, we talk about academics, but not many parents, we insist on mental health as an important to-do thing. So that's where we have to initiate the conversation. And then through role modeling, we kind of get them involved more.
Yeah, and we also have Martin Richards. He says, who else can imagine schools offering this as an after-school activity? I think that would be
Oh, yeah,
awesome,
that would be
Martin.
great.
And we have some, I saw some other questions, a few questions from Carolyn Lee earlier today. How can I, as a parent, keep a strong channel of communication with my children? That was one. And also, as times change and my children are living a life so differently from my own childhood, how can I make sure I'm meeting them where they are? I love that question. That's
Right.
awesome.
Thanks, Carolyn. These are great questions. Again, it loops back to keeping up that communication with your children, um, being as open as possible, and really checking in with them on how they're doing mentally and emotionally. One thing that I want to say to everyone is we can't possibly solve all problems for our children. Neither did our parents, right? So problems and challenges are going to be new to us all the time. But what really we can do is support our children emotionally and mentally. And this is something I learned from my own experience. My son came up to me and told me he was having issues with something, and my parental instinct just jumped into problem solve for him. And so he really stopped me, saying that, I don't want you to problem solve for me. I just need some emotional support. So, kids of these days are highly imaginative, very creative, and I'm sure they can problem solve for themselves. But what they're really lacking is the emotional support. And that's where we can meet them. So, how we can meet them where they are is more about learning where they are emotionally and bonding them in the ways they like. They play video games and they are into a lot of other things that we have no idea. So really trying to be very curious about, what your child is into, and spending some time can help with connecting and bonding.
Right. Thank you. I have a question as well. It gets curious and interesting here. My friend has a child, and she truly in panic, and she's kind of getting stoned. She doesn't know what to do. Every time when the child in front of the papers from the school is saying, I cannot do this, I just cannot do this. And she simply cannot help him. She wants to, but she doesn't know math. She doesn't know. She's been already so far away. If there is any advice for her, what she can do with the child who is saying, Mom, I cannot do this. I do not know how to do this.
Right. So this is where when we start looking at their innate skills and abilities that they already have, they're good at, we try to bring that and say that, see, you already have these qualities of focusing and having patience and practice. So all you have to do is just, use those skills to build on something new. All of us get intimidated when we are not able to do something, but these skills that you already have, we just have to build on it and build new skills. So essentially reminding kids, there are some kids who latch onto it and they are, self-motivated and they take it from there. But a lot of kids need this push and a constant reminder of, how they are capable of doing things. It's just that, their emotional state is not letting them see through the fog. So that can help.
I think you're muted, Anastasia.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you. And in case my friend is watching who asked me to ask this question, that was for you. All right. Okay, that's pretty clear, because that was one of the ways to apply one of those tools you are saying. And boy, oh boy, how much self-awareness for the parents has to do with the mental health of your children. So being not a mom as of today, I realized on how much work I have to do for myself to be a healthy mom in the future. And I'm definitely gonna do that, because nobody teach me to do that. And I've been told that everything, all the knowledge I need, I can get from the school, and I don't need really to go anywhere else. Thank you for that.
Right.
Hala, do we have any other comments? Otherwise, I'll jump in and ask Janani one more question.
We do. We have some comments from Martin. Martin says, perhaps a way of teachers connecting with a wider range of parents. And imagine if a child had this as homework to teach their parents. And the child says, Mom, did you pause and do a self-check? Interesting conversations might ensue. I can imagine my son saying that to me, Mom, you need to self-check.
I think we need those check-ins as well, those reminders, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we also had a question from Renu. She says, managing their emotions, how important is it for parents for positive, effective parenting? So I think Renu is asking there about managing emotions or tips for managing emotions, because sometimes we know cognitively to do it, but it's how we do it, isn't it?
Right, and also to remember to do it, right? Because oftentimes we get carried away in the situation. And from my own personal experience, the way you react, it kind of starts a chemical chain reaction. And then there is your child reacting to your reactions. So why do parents need to do that self-check-in is really to you know be aware that there is something going on within you which could possibly cause a chain reaction. So you stop yourself right there and look inward. And this is something, if you want to handle in a situation, you got to start practicing outside of the situation. That is why we got to bring this into a practice on an everyday level, so that when you're in a situation, you're able to use those tools to really calm down and look outside of the situation. I mean, get out of the situation and look at the facts rather than handling it emotionally. And kids, when they see us do this on a regular basis, they also will start implementing that tool.
Absolutely.
I hope it helps.
Janani, I have a follow-on question. Let me know if you can hear me.
Yes.
It's going up and down. I would like to ask you a question that I've been kind of asked by my friends' moms, and they're asking me, and I'm not even a mom. How do they know if it is okay to do what we are offering them to do today? How do they know that this is a valuable knowledge for them today, and they don't have to look back really and recall the way they've been raised up by their parents? How they can how we can help them to step into the future and to let them know that it's okay. It's okay
Right.
to share your story with your child. What can you say here?
This is absolutely a great question, and this is something that I've been trying to answer myself, because nothing wrong with the way our parents have been parenting. I think they did a fantastic job. The key to understand is, as the world is changing, we also need to adapt our parenting skills, right? Things that we learn from our parents, they may not be completely applicable in this era. So that is why we are trying to think in terms of how can we transform those parenting skills and how can we adapt them. And these are tools that you possibly can't use it the way it is or the way I'm mentioning it here. You have to look at your own circumstances, your kids' requirements, and your family circumstances, and adapt them. At the end, these are like ideas that can sow seeds for more ideas in you. So that is all. That is what I take when I listen to someone else's advice or suggestions. You don't have to follow through the same thing, but definitely it gives you ideas on how you can implement it in your life.
Makes sense to me. Before we jump into the future of race, and we'd like to ask you, how do you see the race is doing today, and what advice you could give us? I want to know, everyone who is watching right now, that you guys can get in touch with Janani on her LinkedIn. I'll be dropping for you the link right away, and to connect to even directly with her, you can simply mail her and ask the question you feel shy or not comfortable to ask right now. Feel free to reach out to her and ask all your questions. Dropping the link for you guys right in the comments. So being a parental coach for some time, you came to know already on how much impact the coaching has in education. Would you please tell us the organizations like RACE, the things that we do here in our weekly conversation? When do you think it will have a dramatic change on the whole educational system, or how do we tap to the community and educate them that the new era is coming? How do you see the future? Where do you see we are today, and when do you think we're going to reach that moment in the future where the coaching will be a normal thing for any school and university?
Right. RACE is a great organization. It is a great platform to bring in like-minded people who are really passionate about education, and really creating that atmosphere where there's more sharing and learning, and that way there's more reach. So I'm already hearing that you're approaching a lot of schools and trying out your methodology and system and trying to bring in more awareness in the education system. So that is all great. Definitely, it's a slow process, but it is surely progressing. And because thanks to technology, we are able to reach out to the entire world. So there are more and more people from across the globe trying to benefit from this. So I'm really waiting for the platform to be up and running so we can have more people, meet other parents, other teachers, coaches, and really experience the change.
Thank you. We do have some time, and I would like to ask you to tell us a little bit more about ThoughtScope. What is it about, and what do you do there?
ThoughtScope is the company that I've created, and I offer right now. My goal is to help parents, build that emotional mental competence in children.
Yeah.
So I offer sample sessions for parents so they can experience what a coaching session looks like. And as I have seen benefits of coaching myself, and the more parents see the benefits, they are able to apply that in helping their children. So it can be anything, not just mental and emotional health. It's about any life challenges that you have, the struggles that you undergo, work-life balance, or just trying to handle your teenager. There's so many topics we have. So parents can bring in any topic, and my role as a coach is more of being their accountability partner to help them accomplish their goals, and be the person to create that support system. As much as we want to create support system for our children, I think it's very important for parents to have that support system, right? Especially with families becoming more and more nuclear, we need to make sure that we have the right resources to reach out to help ourselves. That way we are able to be more successful, much faster than we can be on their own.
I see. Carla, do you have a question for Janani, or I'm gonna let people know how they can get involved with RACE?
We've got a lovely question here from the race
Sure.
community. Again, it's probably Beatrix or someone there posting questions, or Jacob. Is there going to be more conversations around mental and emotional health this academic year compared to the previous one in the classrooms? What do you all think?
Yeah, definitely, because kids are coming back to school after almost a year and a half, right? So definitely there is high sensitivity towards mental and emotional health, and children are trying to get back to school with the fear that COVID is still there, and whether will I be affected. So there's still a lot of fear around that. So definitely, I see that even my children's school, they talk more about mental and emotional health, so which is really good, and we try to use these tools on an everyday basis so that we can ease ourselves, and also talking that all of us are going through this. It's not just one person, right? So we're all in this together. So the more we, even parents collaborating with each other and talking about how we can promote mental and emotional health, not only among ourselves, but also amongst children, we can definitely get through this tough times.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been lovely. It's been lovely and it's been very truly practical. Guys, whoever join us today or the viewers who you will see this video later on, we put for you all these practical tools right in the comments below. You will be able to find them. If you will have a follow-on questions, feel free to reach out Janani directly on the email and LinkedIn. She is active there and she will take forward all your journey with your child. So Janani is one of these magical people whom we are finding around the world in order to keep going the conversations like that and to let know you parents, if you are the parent, and you educator, if you're an educator, or coach, if you're a coach, that together we can make a difference and better the educational system for your and our children. So if you'd like to get engaged with, involved with race as a speaker, as a parent, as an educator, or you have an opinion about something you've heard today, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We are an open community. We have all ears for you. So join us and we will see you next Wednesday. Janani, thank you very much for joining us today on Early Morning in US.
And
Thanks.
thank you, Anastasia and Carla, for having me today.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll see you all next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.